Hello and welcome back to the Alt. Thank you for joining me again today. I'm your host, Shapirian. Week 8 NFL Sunday is in the books. And there's a lot to talk about. A lot of teams in that scrum of things right now, and I hope you've watched every game until the literal final play because you never know what you're going to get. It's the beauty of this league. We've got a lot to talk about. 49ers Cowboys, Bears-Commanders. I got my 5 and 5 coming up earlier where I talk about 5 takes in 5 minutes. It's live and you're not going to want to miss it. Before we get right into it, do me a favor, check and see if you're subscribed to the channel, and if you're not, please consider doing so. It really helps me out a ton, and it means more to me than you know when you hit that subscribe button, so please minimize the video, click that little button. I would really appreciate it. You can also follow me on most social media at The Alt NFL if you'd like to join the conversation, or leave a comment down below. I answer all my comments, and I love hearing from you guys about things that maybe I missed or maybe I was off the mark on. With that said, let's get right into it. Let's talk about Sunday Night Football, as is usually the tradition here, unless Sunday Night Football was just an absolute stinker. This wasn't really a stinker, but it wasn't a great game by any means. 49ers Cowboys. Listen, 49ers, congratulations. You're now back to 500 despite a historical amount of injuries, or historic. I don't know which version of the word you would use there. Historic amount of injuries, and you're still back to 500 now. That is something to kind of hang your head on, because like I've said, the NFC West, wide open. It's really all you have to be. And with that said, though, I think if you lose that one and you fall to 3 and 5, I think it's scary hours for you. Trust me, 3 and 5 is not a fun place to be. I can vouch for that. And this is just an important one because of the circumstances. Sunday night, it's at home. Cowboys are in town and also are kind of floundering. San Francisco really needed this win. I'm happy for them that they were able to pick this one up. For me, the big key factor in this one for San Francisco that makes me feel really good about things moving forward is that George Kittle was a huge factor in their success on offense. And a lot of this game, I mean, for what it's worth, really came down to that third quarter. It was 10-6 at halftime. Cowboys were up 21 in the third quarter, then that being the difference in the game. Unbelievable. But George Kittle, by far for me, showed us that he has to be a huge factor of this offense for them to be able to win games. Sans Brandon Ayuk, sans Christian McCaffrey, and with Deebo Samuel kind of in a weird spot with that pneumonia that he was battling. Did play, but they made a note of how, he's kind of physically ailing, trying to breathe and things like that on the sideline. Just not at 100%. And this whole offense hasn't been at 100%. And Jordan Mason went down in this one and everything too. It's been tough. But with that said, it wasn't just the offense for San Francisco that found a groove. I feel like the 49ers defense, despite what the box score says or anything like that, kind of found a groove in this one and didn't back down once they did. And I think it's going to be hugely important for them down the stretch. So overall, for the 49ers, their mission right now is just stay alive until CMC is back and find a way to play winning football in the process. It's really just that simple. Now, what it's worth though, on the other side of the field, it's worth talking about, what are we looking at with them? Because the 49ers were 3 and 4 going into this game. Now the Cowboys fall to 3 and 4 because they've had their bye week already and San Francisco hadn't. We're at that point of the season. But you have to wonder with them. It's the hottest seat in football, one of the weirdest situations in football right now. Does Mike McCarthy make it to next week against the Falcons in Atlanta? Does he? I don't know. Because look, if you think this one's bad, and for me, they did get outcoached in this one. But look at the next 4. And the games have to be played. They have to. But we've got 4 really tough games coming up before the Giants come to town on Thanksgiving. Okay? We've got at Atlanta, Philly comes to Dallas, Houston comes to Dallas, and they're at Commanders before they face the Giants at home on Thanksgiving. The games have to be played. There's a real chance they lose their next 4. It could talk about scary hours. I use that term a lot. I was like, man, San Francisco lost this one. It would have been scary hours. Talk about scary hours. They lose the next 4? to lose 6 straight? Oh my God. ESPN might explode from the amount of nuclear hot takes we're going to get regarding the Dallas Cowboys because of the way they're covered. Look, all season, Dak Prescott got the deal before the Week 1 game against Cleveland, balled out, me and Treads both, who comes on the show, Treads Takes, and talks about how he was like, man, I kind of like this Cowboys team. We both were like, I'm high on this Cowboys team. Okay? He's looked highly questionable, really, all season. And it's not just a him problem, but you're going to bear the brunt of it whenever you're the quarterback and you're playing the way that he has. It's just the nature of it. But overall, my God, does this team have holes. This feels like a team, in a lot of ways, that was put together in a very cocky manner. I was going to say cockily. I don't know if that's a word. It was put together in a very cocky manner of like, we're the Cowboys. We don't need to do this. The big one that everyone's going to continue to freak out about for maybe, the rest of time is moving on from Derrick Henry. Or not moving on, but not showing enough interest in signing him. And I do agree with saying that I don't even know if he would have been a good scheme fit here, things like that Jerry said. I'm like, I don't disagree with that. But, God, you got to give the guy a shot, right? Alas, here we are. 3-4 is not a fun place to be. Again, I've been there. But what's your plan to win games? What's your plan to win important games, I should say? I picked you in this one, Dallas. And listen, it was a bad week to be a Shapirian pick because I picked the freaking Jets, who I'm not going to say another word about in this one, by the way. I'm literally not. This is all the Jets talk you're going to get. Is my God, I picked you as my one and done this week. Tried to give you props and be like, you're going to at least beat the Patriots. You beat them earlier in the year. God, you couldn't beat the Patriots. Hey, I've been there. I know how it feels. But I picked the Cowboys as my risky pick of the week. I thought as underdogs in this one, they were going to find a way to get it done. And I don't know what the game plan really was. It just seemed like it was such a stuttering offense. Start, stop, start, stop, start, stop. Could never seem to really get any momentum. By the time they kind of seemed to have some flashes here and there, the game was over. And San Francisco really won that game in the third quarter, like I said. So what's your plan to win important games, Dallas, if that's how you played against San Francisco? Look, they're an aggressive team. They like to make moves. We know this about them, and we love this or hate this if you're a hater of them. But they're not one trade away. They're not two trades away. Not midseason trades anyways, right? So I don't know how to possibly predict what the end of their season looks like. I don't know what to think of these next four. There's a real world where they're like 8-9 or 7-10, worse. And this is not going to be like the second time, although I think he might have been dealing with some injuries in that other one. It's really the second time in the Dak era where it's like, oh, this team was just floundering if this ends up happening. So, I don't know. Panic button is slammed on Dallas more than it's been for me all season. And I don't know what to think about it. For the 49ers, congratulations on the big win. But I'm still panicked about you in general, as I think most fans for them are. My statement on your health being that I think to win the Super Bowl, you have to be close to 100% healthy still remains valid in my opinion. But in my opinion, you can get healthy enough on time if Christian McCaffrey's at 100% when he makes his return. I think he's coming back at a great time to be able to make a run. If he's truly 100%, I think you can be good to go. So San Francisco, big one. Dallas, it's going to be a tough week, man. You're going to want to probably not listen to any of the sports shows after this one, just being honest. It's going to be nasty Mike McCarthy talk. We'll see if he's the coach for next week. I really don't know. Moving on from that one to one that is kind of tough to gauge. And I actually had to go back and watch this one because I didn't get this one due to some stupid marketing things. It was, market relations things. Bears-Commanders. Listen. You've seen it by now. I'm not the one breaking news to you as to what happened at the end of the Bears-Commanders game, but if you didn't see that play, man, dude, that's one of those plays, the Hail Mary, where you're going to be seeing it for the next 20 years endlessly. And I feel like, this show goes up at 7 a.m. Eastern time, and I saw some people discussing this. I want to get ahead of this and put my stamp on this with other people. It's not my idea, but I want to give a vote of support for it. It went to Noah Brown. That's Noah's Ark. That's the name of the play. Okay, it's not the Jaden Mary, the Hail Jaden, or any of those things. None of those things, right? It's Noah's Ark. That's what you call that play from now on. Because, obviously, the Ark, but then it went right to him perfectly. Oh, my God. All right, let's talk about the actual game. One of my huge takeaways from this, and this shows up even just if you look at the box score. If you didn't watch 1 second of this game, which I didn't until the final 6 minutes, I think. And then I had to go back and find it and watch it after the fact to be able to talk about it for the alt. Just box score watching, though, it's like, what are these stats? It feels like Caleb Williams wanted this one more than Jaden. it seemed like Jaden Daniels seemed more content playing his normal game. And against a Washington defense that has looked very vulnerable at a lot of points this season, it became obvious to me that the Bears just aren't a complete team yet. I still think they're in the mix of the playoffs. I think 4-3 is obviously right there. But you saw in this one, like, this team has holes, right? And I actually make a comment later on that's kind of harsh towards their coach, Matt Eberflus, but it'll come up later on in the show. Yeah, he's one of the holes in my opinion. I think that there's just something to this team and the way this offense works. Granted, he's a defensive-minded head coach. It's not his offense per se. I just don't love it, personally. On the other side of things, I say Chicago's not complete. Washington's not complete either, but look at what Jason Garrett, former Dallas Cowboys head coach, New York Giants quarterback, things of that nature, said on Football Night in America before the Sunday night game. He said, that's one of those plays that feels like Washington might be one of those teams of destiny this year. Not necessarily to win it all, but he's right in my opinion. This team feels like that crazy fourth down touchdown to Terry McLaurin, week 3, Monday Night Football in Cincinnati with 10 men on the field. Dude, that's a once-in-a-lifetime play. Then you get a Hail Mary that is tipped by the tip guy, as from what we know of, he's the tip guy anyways. Apparently there's a whole controversy there. But tipped by Chicago and falls right into the hands of a Washington receiver, Noah Brown. Wow. It is starting to get to the point where you have to beg the question of, like, what are they going to do? And I really do wonder how far they will go. The NFC has not wowed me, outside of Detroit and Philly to some degree. And right now, I would take Washington over Philly. In fact, if the year ended right now, I'd say we'll see Washington playing some seriously important football. And, San Francisco will be back in the mix. The Packers will be right there, etc. But it's hard to say overall. Year ends right now. Tell me you don't see like a Lions-Commanders NFC Championship. Not predicting that. Not predicting that. Don't go stamp my name or click on, I can't believe you said that. I'm getting out of here. I didn't predict that. I'm not predicting that. I'm just saying, tell me that doesn't feel like you could see it. You could see it, right? This team finds a way to win games. It's hard to say. Overall on this one, that's really the story, is that and then the Hail Mary, right? Even if the Bears won this game, what would we be saying about the Bears besides, they found a way from a terrible game from Washington to win the game? Great. I don't know. 18-15, what a weird score. Overall, while it's a fun little footnote to start both of these guys' careers, obviously a way more fun footnote for Jaden, this is not indicative of how either of these guys' careers will go. They're in the NFC, so they play each other every 3 years at worst. We'll see plenty more from both of them. But for me, it's obvious that Washington is just a better team at this specific point in time, even when I didn't see that being the case going into the season. Washington feels legitimate to me as an NFC contender. I don't think they can win the Super Bowl this particular season, but they're going to be around in the NFC. Like I said, I feel like, talk about team of destiny. I do feel like they're the NFC East team of destiny. I do. The Bears, in my opinion, they're 4-3, sure. But they haven't beaten anybody good all season, which is a comment that you can say about a lot of teams. I'll bring up Cincy one more time in this show later on, but they haven't beaten anybody good. A lot of teams with a couple of wins haven't beaten anybody good yet. They beat the Titans, they beat the Panthers, they beat the Jaguars, and they beat the Rams at the absolute lowest point of the season for them in terms of injuries. That was a depleted Rams team, no Cup, no Puka, a couple other guys, no Boom, stuff like that, out. I think that was their literal lowest in terms of injuries, and they won by 6. I don't know. I don't know what to think of the Bears. I thought they'd be progressing at a better point in this. I said a few weeks ago, like, you're right where you want to be, and that was true then. I don't know if that's true now. We'll have to see as the season goes on if they can continue to develop as an overall unit. Washington, congrats to you, man. Like I said, 6 games already won this year, 6-2. You won 4 all last season. It's an incredible season, and I think they're in for a heck of a journey this year with a lot of fun, meaningful football in the future. All right, with that out of the way, let's get into one of the more fun segments that we do every week on this show, where we do 5 and 5 takes, 5 minutes, talking about the Week 8 games. let's get right into it. This is 5-5. I have one to say here that this is going to be like almost outlandish for what it's worth. But I have to ask the question at this point. Are the Chiefs going to go 17-0? Seriously, no one else in the league seems to be all that great. Okay? No one seems that great except maybe Detroit. And they don't play. So, are the Chiefs going to go 17-0? I made a comment after the Atlanta Sunday night game in week 3 saying, I think they're going to go at least 9-0 going into the Bills game. But really, the Bills game, is that the only other time all season they won't be favored, perhaps? Maybe the Steelers game where they go to the Steelers on Christmas Day. Is that it? Is that the last time they won't be favored? It's a real question to ask. I'm not predicting it. I'm just saying there's a non-zero chance that the Chiefs go 17-0. A bona fide chance. Okay? Just saying. Take number 2. 2 takes back-to-back about the Philly-Cincinnati game today. Let's talk about the Philadelphia Eagles real quick. The Philadelphia Eagles, I almost said. They can make a real 1 seed in the NFC. I truly think so. And I said if they won this game, there's a chance they were going to be in first place in the NFC East. They almost were. Dang, Chicago. But those Washington games, 2 of them coming up, obviously, are going to be must-wins to do so. In an NFC that looks very weird, Philadelphia has to feel great about where they are and great about the way that they handled the Cincinnati Bengals in what was a big game for them on Sunday. So congrats to the Eagles. Huge win for you, throttling those Bengals. Let's talk about Cincinnati Bengals and take number 3. I'll be brief on this one. I tend to ramble when I talk about the Bengals because they are my team. We're not going to do that today because they're not nationally relevant, so they're not relevant to you as the listener. So let's just say this. Cincinnati is very obviously among the worst coached teams in football. So I did this today. I spent some time doing this. I am spiraling after this game. I'm still spiraling as I record this to you because I'm majorly depressed by how the season has gone. But I think if you look at the list of NFL head coaches and take out first-year head coaches with their new team and interim, so like Jeff Ulbrich for the Jets doesn't count, I can find 2 coaches that I think are worse head coaches than Zach Taylor of the Cincinnati Bengals, who calls the plays for them, designs the offense, whole nine. It's great stuff. And those 2 coaches are Dennis Allen, who I don't think is the coach of the Saints after the season, and Matt Eberflus, who probably is going to still be the Bears coach because I think they'll be a playoff team. But he was on the hot seat all offseason, and still, I'm not impressed with him, and I still don't trust him to get the Bears where they're trying to get, which is eventually to a Super Bowl. 2. Go through the list. Tell me if you disagree. I'd love to hear from you. Are there more than 2 coaches in the NFL, or maybe he's worse than both of them? I don't know. Doug Peterson was one that I was like, but he's won a Super Bowl. I think he's creative. Zach Taylor's a bottom 3 head coach in the NFL, not including year 1 coaches. Just my opinion. They have a real coaching problem in Cincy. Take number 4. If the NFC Championship or Super Bowl were tomorrow right now, I don't know why I said it like that. If it was tomorrow, would Detroit be favored over everyone in the entire NFL? I mentioned, the Chiefs maybe going to go 17-0. They've looked better than everybody besides maybe the Ravens and the Lions. They beat the Ravens already. They don't play the Lions. If it were tomorrow on a neutral field, is Detroit favored? They look amazing. I still have them number 1 in my power rankings, but my God, are they an impressive team. Detroit does the whole rah-rah coach thing perfectly. And Ben Johnson, someone's going to give him a bag to get him out of Detroit after this season. I truly think so. I think even if they get close and lose again this year, someone's got to get Ben Johnson out of Detroit. I'd love for it to be Cincinnati. That'll never happen. But my God, I think that guy is a special talent in terms of putting together an offense. And I think we're seeing it with how this Lions offense looks. Take number 5. The Houston Texans are now my current hardest to predict team in the entire NFL. I talked in the past about that. I actually don't remember who I said it was in like week 2 or 3. I was like, they're hard to predict. I don't know what to make of them. Maybe it was the Cardinals. The Texans are 6-2 people, and I don't feel like we're nearly as invested in them as a nation of football fans as we were in the offseason, where we were crowning them as champs before they played a single snap, it seemed like. And I like this team. I like this team a lot. They're 6-2. They're now under the radar. I don't know what to make of them. They've had some ugly football games. Some they've come out on the right side of. Some they've come out on the wrong side of. They've had some really good-looking football games. but not a ton. Not as much as I think we expected to see. Nico Collins will be back eventually, and they'll be back to full strength on offense, essentially. Well, I think I need to see something a little bit more from them before we get into the playoffs, regardless of their record. You're finding ways to win football games. That's great. You have to be able to do so. But the AFC South is still not under wraps, even though you've now swept your biggest competitor in the Colts and have a multi-game lead on them. I'm just saying. Texans could win it all, could crash and burn in this particular season. I don't know what to make of them. Texans fans, do you feel the same way? You're very hard to predict right now. So that was 5-5. We went a little over, but not too much over overall. We did pretty good for ourselves. Let me know in the comments if there's anything that stuck out to you, if there's anything that you think I missed. A lot of teams we didn't talk about today. We didn't talk about the Ravens, nothing of the sort. We do have a Monday night game tomorrow, Giants at Steelers. I'm just going to do a small prediction for this one. I think the Steelers win. I think we all think that's going to be the case. And I think they win this one something like 28-10, maybe. I think they're going to stomp them. I think the Steelers are a legitimate good football team in a league full of very average football teams right now. Sorry, not sorry, I guess. I don't know. It's not fun for me to say. It's just the truth, I think. So with that said, that wraps up this episode of The Alt. If you made it this far in the episode, thank you. I love you. I appreciate you. And I don't take you for granted for even 1 second. So thank you for deciding to share any part of your day by clicking on a very small creator trying to make NFL content. Like I said, if you enjoyed the episode, do me a favor, leave it a like. But also hit that subscribe button to be able to tune into the rest of the week. We do this Monday through Friday, every morning at 7 a.m. Eastern. We post a new episode. Enjoy some Monday Night Football tonight. Listen, we're at the halfway point of the season, essentially. It's winding down, guys. Enjoy the football before the leaves fully die, before the snow starts falling, things like that. Halloween's this week. You're getting to the part of the season where, man, football's almost over. I don't want to get ahead of myself. But with that said, I'll see you back here bright and early on Tuesday. We'll talk Giants, Steelers. We'll talk some other stuff from Week 8. Don't miss it. So I'll see you back here bright and early tomorrow.